Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 28 of a year of change. We have reached the end of our fourth week, so congratulations. You've gone pretty much an entire month following along with this. And so we're just sort of, winding down, I guess, at the last bit of the last day for our fourth week. So bravo. For many of us, myself included, this is longer than we generally would stick with anything. And hopefully it's to a point where you're still enjoying it and the changes are coming close enough that you're not bored, but not so quickly that you find it overwhelming. So sort of a bit of a, how do I put this, not a warning for you really, just a notification, I guess, that in the next couple of weeks we're going to add the exercise. Not for tomorrow though. Tomorrow's just going to be a food change, but I think maybe the week after we might start on that. Don't worry, it's going to be a very, 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 very small change. I might have to start mine a little bit earlier though. My schedule has changed a bit. So the place that I work, there's a parking lot in the front and around the back and the side and everything else. However, because of the parking situation, I might be starting the exercise a little bit earlier. Generally, I'm usually about a week ahead of you guys anyway. When we first started tracking like condiments and things like that, I'd been tracking it for a bit. When we start tracking fluids, then I've been tracking fluids for quite some time anyway, just to make sure that, if I can do it, then pretty much anybody can. So part of it is getting to a point where I know it's not too much too soon, and then we can sort of tweak things that way, which is usually when I'm talking and I'll say, oh, I think we're doing this in 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. It's because I haven't really mapped it out to the day what we're going to be doing. I want to make sure that I'm doing it first, and it gives me a much better idea as to how it's going to impact us and, sort of go that way. As I say, I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do myself. So that's sort of part of that. But so the exercise isn't going to be starting for a couple of weeks, but because of this parking situation, I might be starting mine a bit early. Aside from all the regular parking around where I work, there is a big hill in behind it, and a big hill. I've parked up there once, and the walk down is not that bad. It's okay. But the walk up afterwards, the hill's at about a 50-degree angle. So to give you an idea, if that's roughly 45, then you're going, poop, it's about that, all the way up. It took me about 10 minutes to get to the top, and when I finally hit the top, I was well above the top of the 3-story building that I work in. Well, it's 3 floors, so like 8 foot, 8, 3, 24, 50, 30, yes, lots of math floors. And it's well above that. It's, it'd be the equivalent of probably 2 buildings tall. By the time I got up there, I had a really hard time breathing because I haven't done any exercise in ever. And my lungs were burning, my throat was burning. It lasted, I ended at 5 that afternoon, and it lasted the entire night. And when I got up in the morning at 7, it was still burning. That feeling that you get when you're really, really out of breath and just everything burns lasted for 10 hours and continued on the next morning. So I'm not really looking forward to it because my schedule has changed. Every parking spot is already going to be taken, and I'm going to be stuck up on that hill. So walking down to work isn't going to be too bad because it's, as I say, it's very, very steep on the way down, so you just have to prevent yourself from falling and making an ass of yourself. So I'm not really worried about being all disgusting when I get to work. Some people have said to go up on your lunch and drive down so that it's there at the end of the day, but I suspect if I did that, I would be all sweaty and gross and wheezy and out of breath and not be able to function as a person, at least for the first little bit. So what's going to end up happening is that at the end of the day, that's when I'll go up to get my car. So 10-minute walk up a very steep hill, lots of crying and wheezing and coughing and hacking and throwing up everywhere. But it gives me until the next morning to sort of recuperate, or the next mid-morning, I guess. So that's going to probably be the start of my exercise program a little bit. I have something in mind for myself when we finally do start something, but I mean, depending on how quickly I get used to it, I may just keep doing that. Because where I am right now, I've done little things here and there, and this is sort of give you an idea as to in a couple of weeks what we'll do for exercise. I don't mean you're going to be starting out by saying, okay, well walk for an hour a day. It's not going to happen. But luck would have it, I'm on the second floor of the building I'm in. So aside from the very first day when they did the tour of the place, I haven't taken the elevator once. And that's the main thing. It's just in the morning, I take the stairs and that's it. I know it doesn't sound like much, but that's going to be my exercise for the day. So when we do start in on that in a couple of weeks' time, it's going to be something very simple like that. And we will gradually build so that by the end of the year, that would be when you're to a point where, maybe you're walking an hour a day if you have the time, or, you're doing something, enough that you're moving. So don't worry about that. As far as the food change for tomorrow, it's not going to be anything major. It's just going to sort of keep things going. We are going to start a tracking thing again, which might be a significant change. But, again, it's stuff that I've already done. So it's the sort of thing that if I can control it, I don't see any problems with the majority of you controlling it. So you shouldn't need to worry too much. But that is it. I don't really have a lot to say on this other than, congratulations for sticking with us for 4 weeks. Now, at this stage, I've said this before, you can go for 4 weeks. You followed it. You've been able to track all your stuff. That's the big thing. You've been tracking your food intake for 4 weeks straight, which is really good. So the majority of you are probably going to have, 28-day streak on MyFitnessPal if you started up. Some of you might be a little bit less if you didn't get started right away. But you've made it for 4 full weeks. And although the first week was sort of a, just getting things started, you were still tracking. So there's a month-long pattern. And in that time, you've hit a goal where you have a certain number of calories that you can do in the run of a day, and you haven't gone over that. Some of us probably have. And then the next week, there was another one where you started drinking water, and then you started tracking sauces. So these little changes are taking effect. And when you look at it over the course of a month, you've done quite a bit in the past 4 weeks. It may not feel like much, but in general, you've done very well. So now that you can do 4 weeks, just do another 4 weeks. And because you can do that much. So you can just sort of tack on another 4 weeks. And the changes that we're going to be making from now on, like the big major food changes have pretty much happened. Drinking water, tracking, staying below your goal, tracking your sauces. What was the other one? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And like I said before, we are never really going to get to a point where we're cutting out foods altogether. I mean, you can if you want, but our main goal is to get it balanced so that it's, a normal diet. So for some of us, junk food is going to get cut way back. For me, it's going to be greasy food is going to get cut way back. I'm going to, at some point, have to cut back on my salt intake. I know that because if I could just sit with a salt lick and just all day and just, it would be great. I'm sure that looks really sexy. So, there are going to be changes that we're going to be doing, as the year goes on. But the major ones, especially ones where you're just sort of starting things out, those, to me anyway, seem to be the really hard ones. Because it's not a matter of saying, well, I exercise every day and I eat right, so now I'm going to cut out sugar. It's not a simple matter of making that little food change. We're changing our entire lifestyle, some of which some of us have had for decades, where we've just eaten what we wanted, didn't really think about it. We know it's bad for us and things like that. Some of you may have struggled with the tracking of sauces. Maybe you dip everything. Maybe some of you are still having an issue with the water. But you're following through, you're making those changes, and getting that first change to hit is really, really the hard part. For me anyway, I would think. Some of you might still be thinking, no, this is fine, this is absolutely great, I haven't had any issues, which is great, because that means you're going to stick with it more. And for those of you that are still struggling with it, I hope that, well, I mean, if you're this far and you're still struggling though, I mean, that shows a lot of perseverance. So I know that at least you're going to be sticking with it. And as things progress, it's going to get easier and easier and easier to deal with. There's going to be a lot of tweaking with your diet back and forth. Yesterday, when I came home, it was the end of my work week, and I went to the store to go get eggs and ended up coming back with an entire turkey, so I made a turkey dinner. That's going to last for a couple of days. But trying to figure out what can I put in here that I'm not going to go way over and still have a reasonable amount of food, things like that. Those little things back and forth, those are going to be the things that you're going to tweak. So if you are still doing this, though, at this stage, chances are you're going to stick with us for the long run. And that's the main thing, is that you've gotten to a point where you've been doing this for a full month. And I know it's not, I mean, technically it's 28 days. But if you're in February, then it's a full month. But those 4 weeks do speak volumes as to what you're willing to do, and hopefully that you've acknowledged that this change needs to be made. And as I say, as we do these little changes back and forth, they aren't going to be as drastic as the ones that we've done. We still have a couple of tracking things that we're going to be doing that's just going to add so that eventually we're tracking everything that we're eating. And that's going to give us a much more accurate picture. But in general, the big changes, that initial start, I'm trying to think of a really good analogy, and unfortunately I can't. That first shot to get you out of the gate, that's been done. All you need to do is just to keep moving at this stage. And like I say, if you've hit 4 weeks at this point, then chances are you're going to stick with us for a lot longer. But over the next few weeks, as we start finishing off the food changes and start in on the exercise changes, which again are going to be very, very small, don't worry. Even those of you that are stuck in bed and can't move, you're still going to be able to do stuff. So it's not going to be, okay, do 1 sit-up a day, or, just make sure that you walk the dog. It's just like the food changes, these are going to be practical changes. These are going to be things that everyone is going to say, okay, that should be doable. The hardest part about the exercise, quite honestly, is probably going to be finding the time. Way, way, way down the line when people are doing, say, half an hour or an hour of exercise. Setting aside that hour every day is a bit difficult. It might just come to a point where you just need to wake up an entire hour early to get it done. But I just know from my experience that when I was doing it, even as fat as I am, I still felt way, way better every time. It's just that you do get complacent and lazy and you skip a day here and there and everything else. But that's for further down the road. I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here. This was mainly just a way to say, congratulations for sticking with it for 4 weeks, and thank you for staying with it for 4 weeks, and to whine about the fact that I have to walk up a very, very steep hill every single day, Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays, I'm not going to walk anywhere. I'm staying where I am. I'm not walking up a hill anyway. So at least there's that. But I'll keep you comprised as to how bad things are, and hopefully I'll get used to it within a couple of weeks. I'd like to, in my head anyway, I'd like to get to a point where I get used to it so that no matter what time I'm working, I'll choose to work or to park up there, so that, I know at the end of the day that at least I'm getting some exercise aside from walking up 1 flight of stairs. So I was going to actually just take a video of it today when I was out there, but I thought, I don't know if I would even be allowed. Because it's technically private property, and I don't think they really want me doing that. So I said no. But take my word for it, it's very, very steep. It's a very long hill. And the last time I did it was a horrible experience. So I'm just hoping it was that initial shock that, I'll be able to continue on doing it. But I'll let you know each day what's going on. If you see the video the next morning when you get up, and I'm still crying, then chances are it's not going well. But again, my goal is that I'll get used to it and maybe just sort of take it a little bit slower than I did the first time. Take 20 minutes to walk up the hill instead of 10. which just sounds like such a long trek, and it really is. It was not a pleasant experience. So, but I had a friend of mine that was joking that she was going to watch me out the window, and if I fell and cried, she was going to poke fun at me. So, yeah, made it up in one trip. But she probably won't do that again, so I can take the time if I need to and cry and fall down on the way out. So if I do, I'll let you know. But that is it for this video. Thank you very much again for sticking with me for these 4 weeks, and you know you can do 4, so stick with me at least for another 4, and we'll see where things go from there. But for right now, thank you again for watching this. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me, and in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.